We like to have fun here on the Jonathan is Bad at Games channel, but we also know that some things are no laughing matter. If you or a loved one has experienced red coloration when you shoot your sticky goo all over the walls, please seek medical attention. In today's humble opinion, we're bouncing off the walls in Splasher. Alright, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Splasher is a terrible name for this game. It's bland, it's unassuming, and it has nothing to do with the core mechanics of the game itself. You know what a name like Splasher earns you? My inability to remember it when bringing it up in casual conversation. Man, I was playing this sweet platforming speedrunner, you spray ink on stuff and it changes how your character interacts with it. Oh, that sounds awesome. What game is it? I think it started with an S. You don't actually do a lot of splashing in the game. In fact, you're making a concerted effort to avoid it lest you turn into a horrid genetic monstrosity. Granted, there are some splashy animations, but it's nothing that cements the identity of the game in the player's mind. My suggestion would have been Splatter, or even Splat. It's got a similar ring to it, but it's reinforced by the rest of the game. Spraying an enemy? Splat. Hit some red ink? Splat. What does ink do? Splat. I'm mostly just taking the piss out of you, but honestly, what are you collecting all that piss for anyway? The point I'm trying to make is that the title understates the brilliance of this game. You take a cursory glance in its direction and it pretty much looks like every other game in its genre. Fast flowing action accented by fluid movement centered mechanics used to navigate different maps. But it's so much more than that. It's a game with impact. The core mechanics are new and interesting. It's got clean design, well-made levels, and entrancing game feel. It hits you like splat, you know? Just like, what is Splasher? His name? What's the deal with Splasher? Am I crazy? It's possible, but not as crazy as the name Splasher is weak. I mean, it practically exudes from the lips and dissipates into the air when you say it, like a vapor. Anyway, Splasher is a gem among speedrunning titles, and there's a lot to talk about. Feels like more than I can cover in the length of this video, as strange as that sounds. Long story short, the developers have taken a simple formula and injected it with meaningful complexity. The normal status quo for these types of games is for the environment to do the heavy lifting, leaving the player's decisions limited to how long they're going to hold the jump button, or if things get extra crazy, whether or not they want to slide. Splasher is a very different story, as over the course of the game you collect a variety of different inks that you have to spray on the level around you. This places extra responsibility on the player to not only react to the environment as they get there, but to also solve problems ahead of time. Failing to use the appropriate spray could spell your doom. While this introduces the opportunity for puzzle-like elements, and indeed some challenges do take the form of puzzles, the game still maintains its emphasis on timing, momentum, and muscle memory. Now at this point you might be thinking that sounds like a lot to take in and it must be a nightmare to balance, but the developers have managed a difficulty curve that is smoother than silk. Not only is the game itself well paced, but the design of the levels is intuitive, informative, and crafted flawlessly. The first level, which serves as the basic tutorial, introduces you to most of the elements you'll be experiencing in the game. It shows you how to jump, then it gives you the minor obstacle that introduces the limits of that action, which forces you to pay attention to the height, distance, and pace of the jump arc. They give you a worker to rescue as incentive, which shows you the purpose of some of the on-screen elements as well as the objective of the level. Then you learn what the different types of ink do, as well as how to differentiate between temporary ink, permanent ink walls, inkable and non-inkable surfaces, and the interaction between ink and water. You learn how to handle basic enemies, and near the end you earn your first spray, water. And the rest of the level is an intuitive exercise in and application of your sprayer. Every level after that takes what you've learned and escalates it to a difficulty just outside of your mastery level. New elements, new challenges, or new applications of threats. Collectibles that offer incentive toward pushing your own boundaries are spread throughout each level. These factors create a constant feeling of progress and forward momentum, with each level demanding more than the last. Though the challenge itself is constant and even. For me, Splasher earns a perfect 10 out of 10 for having completely annihilated any semblance of a flaw. Responsive controls, tight level design, and a fantastic learning curve ensure that you're always being challenged, but never in a way that places you in a situation outside of your control. It makes for an experience that, while occasionally frustrating, is tremendously fun and makes use of mechanics unseen in the speedrunning genre. And with the addition of time trial levels and speedrunning challenges that include beating the entire game in one sitting, there's plenty of reasons to keep coming back for more. It's also got a great sense of humor and a simple yet memorable character design. All in all, a solid game. Thank you everyone for watching, and special thanks to Splash Team for making this game a reality. I had a lot of fun and frustration playing it, and I'm glad I had the opportunity. It's rare to find a game that feels like it just got everything right, but you guys have nailed it. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share the video, and until next time, remember that failure is not the worst case scenario. To go on with your bad selves and stay awesome.